Hello everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of our airbrushing series. If this is your first time joining us, thank you very much and welcome. If you're returning, thank you very much for coming back for another video. All right, now that we're back, I've gotten the body completely masked off. I did about 5 coats of mask on this body in this case, just keeping it very, very thin. If you remember from before, we did kind of our dabbing kind of motion in between, and you'll see that the texture in here, I don't know if that's coming off very well, but the texture in here is fairly even. It just makes things a little nicer to cut. I have gone ahead and drawn my designs on the body, so I'm using the channel logo here on the side. I'm doing a brick pattern with a YouTube logo there in the middle. Now down here in the side, I'm actually going to do a unique kind of a stripe here in the inside and a marbling texture on the bottom. I want to show you guys quite a bit of technique, easy to use techniques that will give you some pretty phenomenal results. So the other thing I wanted to point out to you is that you don't have to be an artist to do this. So if you'll notice with this YouTube logo here, I didn't actually draw that. What I did is I went and printed this from the internet. I just sized it up into a photo editing program. You can use Photoshop. You can use paint.net, which is free. You can use really any photo editing program to size these to your liking. So this YouTube logo, I just stuck it in the inside here. And you'll see that you can see that really nice through the masking. And then you can just transfer that right on top. I did the same thing with the channel logo. So I just sized it up and printed it off, stuck it in the inside, and then followed the cut lines. Now to draw this on here, I've used a fine line Sharpie, such as this one right here. And with this Sharpie, you literally just draw right on the body. And then you'll have lines that you can cut. So you can use this fairly easily. And if you make a mistake, you can use something like 91% isopropyl alcohol in order to wipe that clear. With COVID-19, this may be a little tricky to find, but you can use Clorox wipes and anything really that's an alcohol base you can use to wipe off your errors if you do make a mistake. Now I went ahead and drew everything on this body. I've also gone ahead and trimmed everything out as well. If you look pretty closely here, you can see there's some obvious clear bits. I've peeled up everything that's going to be black. I tried to save as much time as possible because I've noticed that this video series, when I'm editing, is going to be quite long. Now, if you look here in the wheel well, you'll see I did some cutting out here as well. Now, when I was doing my trimming in this area, in here, I started having some issues with peeling up something that I wasn't expecting. And if you remember from before how I mentioned go ahead and masking in here, because this is nice for you just to be able to grab the bit to put inside of here and trim it out so that you can save your masking. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that I had my body in front there. We'll try that again. So you can go ahead and use your masking from your wheel well in here, and that will save your masking job. So now that everything that is intended to be black is done, I've preloaded some paint in my airbrush here. This is just regular Proline black paint. Power on my compressor here. Hook up my air line. I'm going to make sure that this valve is all the way open. If you remember from my previous video, that MAC valve is a nice feature to have, but you do want to remember to open it. And then we'll start applying our paint in here. So I like to kind of start in the wheel wells, and I don't know if you saw that or not, there was obviously some water in my airbrush. So this is one of the reasons why I usually come off the edge here, just to make sure that nothing unexpected is going to happen. If we didn't catch that, and we sprayed it on the body where we were painting, that would create some problems and issues with it sticking and running. And so anyway, we've got that all cleared up now. So make sure we have some paint coming out. Now, just like in our previous video that I showed you with airbrushing, this all is really an act in patience. So we'll start by pulling our trigger back, getting some paint moving, and slowly do our paint buildup here. If you've not watched that previous video on the basics, this would be a really good time for you to actually go out and check that video, just so we talk about the exercise in patience. Now, once we've applied just a little bit of paint in here, we're going to flip over and do our other side and just mirror that same process here. Start out on the edge, on an area that's not important, and then slowly build up our paint in the inside. Now, doing these very light coats does two things. The first thing is that it prevents running. The second thing is that it will cure quite a bit faster. But to help with that process, I do like to use a hair dryer. I have that hiding under my table here. So just a hair dryer just to blow dry that paint. Now, once we've done our blow drying, we're going to do another coat here. Starting onto the edge again, a place that's not important, and working our way nice slow coverages here. Once you have a few coats built up, you can do this quite a bit faster or quite a bit heavier because you don't have quite as much issues with things like paint run. When you're working on lighter colors like white or yellow, for example, this is pretty beneficial, but black covers really, really well, so you're not going to have as much trouble with building up your colors. All right, so now this is the example of why you cut everything before you start, because now we can't see through the body anymore. So we can't see our drawn lines because we always need to do our darkest colors first. So that's where we are cutting everything first. I don't know how well you can see this on the camera, but you can just kind of make out our shapes with this black. I can see this much better live than you can in the video, but you'll just look through here and we're going to peel up everything that's supposed to be blue now because we're doing our darkest to lightest. So we'll come in into the inside of the body here and we will pick, try and make sure you can see. So we'll come in the inside of the body here and we'll pick this bit of mask up that's supposed to be blue. And you can see we just peeled up that little bit of mask. So I'm going to work my way around here, go ahead and peel up everything that's supposed to be blue, and then we'll be back. You can see what I've done here. All right, so now that I have got everything all peeled out here, you can see I've peeled up everything that's supposed to be blue. I've done that on both sides. And we'll repeat the same process that we were doing before. But before we do that, I actually got a little bit ahead of myself when I peeled up the blue that I had some more black that I had pulled up that I was going to do. So I'm going to use regular painter's tape here, and I'm going to run just a very little bit of mask kind of over top of what I was going to be painting blue, because when we get some dust build up inside of the body, we'll get a little bit of hazing where our blue should be, and that will affect the look of our shell. Now, just like Bob Ross always says, that there's just happy little accidents, and the same thing holds true with these bodies as well, that there really isn't anything that is detrimental when we're talking about forgetting things. So even if we got a little bit of dusting inside that blue, it's not always going to just mess things up and you'll never be able to live with yourself. But sometimes I can drop that. So you can see down here on the bottom, like I said, I forgot some black, so we'll do some paint inside of here as well. And again, don't overdo it because you're going to run that paint. So we're going to grab our hairdryer and do that again here. All right, so many of the techniques that we're doing here are not limited to just airbrushing. I mean, you can also do a number of these kind of things with a spray can, especially when we're not doing any shading or any highlighting. So that's just something to think of. Now, you see what just happened here. I just peeled up some of my mask, which is what I was a little bit worried about. We'll see if I can get that put back in place here. All right, so great example of preparing ahead of time. So you'll notice that I've peeled up some of my mask in my wheel well here, because when I went to go peel that tape up, I was not able to save this mask that was here. So now I'm going to just cut that back into place, and then we will continue with the painting. All right, all better. You can see my new mask is in place here. So now we'll grab my airbrush and we will paint some blue. Okay, so now that our blue is finished, I'm going to work on the white letters that are inside of the logo there. So I'll peel those up and we'll be back in a second. All right, so now we have all of our letters peeled up here. We have done that on both sides. And we'll take some white paint and we'll fill that in. All right, so now you can see our paint taking shape. You can see how quickly we've created this design. It goes pretty quick. Most of our work is done prior to airbrushing. So a lot of our cutting, a lot of our prep work, making sure that our colors are right. You can create these results pretty well. Now, normally what I would have done is I would have waited to paint this white as one of the very last things. But for the purposes of demonstration, I wanted to show you how quickly this can come together. Now, the reason you want to do that white last is because backing it with a darker color will change the color of this white. So when you do it like this, you need to make sure that you're backing this white with a silver. Silver blocks a lot of colors, and that will be a very good way of kind of sealing this in to protect you from changing your color. So I'm going to load up an airbrush now and take care of that real quick. Okay, so since we have that all sealed up, and because we're going to be doing some other things in silver, I figured I would go ahead and peel those areas up, like the trim around the windows. Go ahead and peel that up so you can get that painted at the same time as well. All right, now that we finally have all that done, we're going to, I'm going to show you something here real quick. So if you look at the back here, so I've painted these wing mounts black, and you'll notice the wing mounts kind of run over top of the tail light. So what I like to do in these cases is I like to take the airbrush and I like to take and do a shadow here, like a shade here, to make it look like this wing mount is on top of the tail light. So I'm going to take my black paint, and just like in our previous video here, we're going to go really slow and be really patient. Make sure that we have actually paint coming out of here. Try again. Just create a little bit of shadow line where that black is. It's hard to see here on the video, I'm sure, but taking just this little bit of effort will make a big difference in the way that it looks in the end, because it'll really make it look more natural. Now I'm also going to do the same thing. I'm going to do it down here at the base of this window, because if you'll notice, let me see if I can turn this around, you can actually see it. So if you'll notice here on the side, I've done the outer edge of that window, but I did not do at the base of the window here. So doing a little shadow line underneath here, again, will add some depth and it'll give you a more realistic look. These small little touches that you do will make all the difference in the world when we're talking about how good a body looks. Do the same on the other side here. You can do these anywhere that you like. If you wanted to do them down here at the bottom of this one as well. I would recommend not doing this until your skill has come up a little bit, because controlling the airbrush can be a little more tricky down here in these lighter dusty areas. I'm having trouble with the paint here. I may end up messing this up, but we'll see what happens. All right, then we're going to do it all silver. All right, well, I think we'll end the video here. I appreciate you guys hanging out and learning some things about airbrushing. We'll pick up in the next video. We'll do some more techniques. I'll show you a really cool marbling technique. We'll see how things go. Maybe I'll have time to actually show you a carbon fiber technique. So if you've learned anything from this video, if you've enjoyed it at all, hit the like button for me. If you wish to see more of our content, please subscribe and make sure you hit that bell so that you get our notifications. And we look forward to seeing you in the next one.